let me add you now. Oh, oh, you've sent a request. Oh, okay. Right. I should have accepted it. Yay! Hey,
Oh.
hey,
What's going on?
I'm good. How are you?
Oh, I'm amazing, thank you.
Good, good, good.
How you been? How you been? What's been going on?
This is what I've
Yep.
spent my whole lockdown doing because I've had the
Right.
time finally. So yeah, taking a shift away from teaching now, just teaching a little bit and
Yeah.
venturing more towards this and trying to build this platform. So yeah, what about yourself?
Amazing. Similar. I'm still, designing buildings and working on becoming immersive and stuff. So those are like my two babies at the
Oh,
moment.
nice.
Yeah, that's keeping me occupied, out of trouble as much as
Yeah.
possible.
Amazing. Okay, great. So let's get started. So thank you for joining me. I really appreciate you taking the time out of your day to come and just chat to me and chat to everyone else who's watching and who will watch later on. So yeah, these chats are just really informal, and my company's aimed at helping, emerging artists and dance graduates. So it's just really great to hear about, dance artists like yourself and like how it actually happened and that it didn't happen overnight.
Right.
Well, it might have done. We'll find out.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
yeah,
Yes, man, like, yeah.
yeah, wicked. So if anyone has any questions as well, just pop them in the chat as we go along, and at the end we'll answer them because otherwise I just get distracted.
Awesome.
so,
I'm ready.
so
I'm ready.
wicked. So let's chat about how you got started in dance. Like, what was your pathway into dance?
Yeah, so do you know what? I realize in everything my method is never really the same as everyone else's. So it's something that I've come to realize. I didn't really start dancing properly until I got to uni.
Okay.
So I know dancers started hella early, like when they were
Mhm.
5, 6 years old and all that kind of stuff. But I was always a little kid at the party, just
Yeah.
two-step shuffling and doing
Yeah.
all that kind of stuff. Like MJ was like a huge inspiration of mine and just stuff like that. But I wasn't really trained, shall we say, until I got
Mm.
to uni, and then I went to same uni as Bagsy, Michael
Ah,
Oladele.
okay. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. And he basically had all that background knowledge of popping, locking, hip hop, house, that kind of thing. And we were looking for a dance class, right, at uni, at Loughborough Uni. Couldn't find one, so we decided to make our own.
Oh
And
no.
literally, my first experience in dancing was like basically sub teaching.
Okay. So you started out as a teacher.
Yeah, basically. So I was basically shadowing him, and I think fortunately I was able to absorb a lot of information quite quickly. So
Mm.
in terms of the technique, and in terms of the history as well, I was just really curious about that. So I learned a lot, and it was basically on the side of doing architectural engineering. I'd basically
Yeah.
be on YouTube, which at that time was hella fresh, right? So
Yeah.
it's not like so we're talking like 2003, pretty much,
Okay.
right? So
Yeah.
um, so yeah, I would just be on there and finding out about each of the dance styles, finding out about each of the like pioneers and things, because
Yeah.
obviously, especially then, like most of them are still alive, and so I was just really curious about the truth. So I just
Mm.
who was around, learn my history, try and find out the names of the different steps that we were doing, so that when it was my turn to teach, I'd be
Yeah.
able to actually do it. And then it was just I think like everything, they say luck is basically preparation and opportunity. So
Okay.
with all that preparation, things just started to happen. Like so, I went to there was a competition called Club Gel, right?
Club
And
gel. What was it called?
gel, Club Gel,
Gel, like hair
yeah,
gel.
like hair gel. So the gel for club, all right?
Oh, right, right. Okay.
So, and the thing is, I'm laughing because I don't know if anyone in here would be like a throwback of that far back, but that competition never actually happened. So
Right.
it turned out to be a huge scam, right? There was £100,000 prize,
Yeah.
and all this kind of stuff. It was like two unis and stuff. So it obviously grabbed a lot of attention, and like I shifted my days around to be able to get
Yeah.
to the prelims. Got there, and I did really well. Bird Gang were judging, and
Nice.
they just really took to me. So I got through to the next round, which never happened.
Yeah.
But
Oh wow.
Um, yeah, but Bird Gang really like took to me like they I remember getting a call. So I'm in uni at the moment. I remember clear as day. I'm in the dinner hall, right?
Yeah.
And I get a phone call from a number I don't recognize, and usually I don't pick those up,
Yeah.
but this day I did, and it was Ivan Blackstock,
Yeah. Yeah.
and he was like, "Yeah, so saw your prelim and stuff, and it was really great. We basically have a situation. We've got this competition going in Czech Republic, which was a street dance camp, KEMP. I'm not even sure if it's still running, but he was like, yeah, so we need an extra person. We'll pay for your flights, accommodation, all that kind of stuff. Like, would you be able to be like an
Yeah.
extra bird member? I was like, let me just check my diary and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, yeah. So,
Yeah.
um, and yeah, that was like my first international gig. Like, just
Yeah.
randomly call from Ivan and went, and it was just amazing because around the table, all the teachers of the people I've been like
Mm.
following online.
Yeah.
Um, and it was amazing because I got to sit and ask questions and just jam with people who were at the upper echelon in my head of
Mm.
this effectively career path that I was kind of
Yeah.
starting up, which wasn't really a career path at that point. It was just chance.
Mm.
But yeah, ever since then, I've just kind of just found myself really working hard on the craft. So I'm
Yeah.
really interested in just movement in
Yeah.
general.
Yeah.
So I think you would know it. So a lot of
Yeah.
people, especially towards the middle part of my growth, wouldn't be able to put me into a specific category because I just learned
Yeah.
everything.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I was like that extra person who basically, if you needed a popper, I'd be able to jump in there for a little bit. If you need a locker, like, if
Mm.
you needed someone who could do house, all that kind of stuff. And I just got to know a lot of people that way, but
Yeah.
never really like, I was never really part of one particular group. I was part of
Mm.
different groups.
Yeah.
And for me, it taught me a lot about the dances, but then also the people and
Yeah.
kind of like relationship between how people conduct things like training. And it was only when I started going to national. So obviously, Juste Debout was a big moment for me because basically Mike and I were like, so it's this amount to watch and this
Yeah.
amount to enter.
Right.
so, so, so we were like, Rags, let's go. Bearing in
Yeah.
mind, literally within the first year of me starting to dance, right? So yeah, and again, that was similar. And I think my mindset has always been like, if I want to do something, I've got to put myself into the actual.
Mm.
I tend to work well under pressure, so in that case, it was literally putting myself in a space where the best are going to be, and
Yeah.
even if I'm not necessarily going to win in that moment, it was more about what I can absorb. So I asked a lot of questions, spoke to a lot of people, and networked
Yeah.
basically.
Yeah. That's
And
amazing.
yeah, and that's pretty much the start of my career, as it
Yeah.
were.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
it was like I finished my undergrad and then I went to work, and it became really difficult to keep it going. So there was like a 3 year gap because I was living in Reading at the time. And I would come up to London when it was Huskies, 7 to 10
Right.
o'clock on
Yeah.
Monday and Tuesday and stuff. And I would basically take all the classes and then go back to Reading for work the next day.
Wow.
So
Yeah.
my days would just be huge. And I did it for like 3 months and I couldn't do it. Anyway, skip forward to 20, I want to say 10-ish, like Credit
Yeah.
Crunch. I finished my master's in sustainable architecture. Whoop, whoop, did all that.
Yeah.
Credit crunch, so there's no job. So I went
Right.
dancing full time, and that's when I really started to really like take it seriously. That's when I started to teach properly and do a lot more networking, a lot of traveling. Went to Japan, things like
Yeah.
that. Yeah, Huskies, Arthur. I'm telling you.
That's crazy. It's like your fullback career was dance, which is
Yeah,
not
yeah.
usually the way around. But that's
No,
actually sick.
I've been really fortunate to be able to fall in love with two very different professions,
Mm.
which I've realized now more than I did at the time can both be really lucrative if you approach it
Yeah,
right. But I
100%.
think I didn't have the business acumen that I do now when I started,
Mm.
uh, and so there was a lot of things I would have done differently then. But it still worked out well, you
Yeah.
know. I was really excited to be able to have effectively a side income that was lucrative, but then also it allowed me to travel. Like I remember having as a Sierra Leonean, right? It was a very difficult conversation with my mum when I said to her, I'm going to dance for a living.
Yeah. How did that go?
It didn't go well, but
No.
but you know, it was some at the time. It was like, you know, this is the only thing I can do. Like I've been back and forth. I've been sent how many applications. There just aren't jobs for what I'm doing.
Yeah.
So, but then at the same time, it's like if I could start a class and I could be making this amount per week,
Yeah.
which is basically as much as I would be if I was doing the architecture job. So, so yeah, yeah, I just don't age, man. Yeah, I don't believe in aging, bro. Don't believe in it.
It's not a thing. It doesn't happen
It's
for
not.
you.
It's a conspiracy.
Amazing. So you kind of already chatted about it already. So like landing your first job, was that Bird Gang international job? Was that your first one?
Yeah, that was my first one, really, and that mainly because it was so soon after I started.
Yeah.
I think that was when I realized there was potential in this dance thing. And to be honest with you, I had a very Sierra Leonean mindset before, so it wasn't something I intended to take as a
Yeah.
serious thing. But yeah, I did that, and once I went effectively pro after 2011, that was when I started to do a little bit more commercial work. And there
Yeah.
were like adverts and performances for different artists and things like that. But yeah, it was a
Yeah.
grind, you know.
Yeah. So how did you so when you decided to go pro for a few years, how did you kind of get that ball rolling then?
Um, Shifting my head back to that time, I I think at the time I was looking at what different like talents I guess I had, or what were my strengths. So
Mm.
I love performing. Yeah.
Yeah.
Love it. Love performing. I love the feeling of being on stage,
Yeah.
yeah, banging out whatever it is, and just the crowd being like, ah! Especially if it's to a track that you love. Like I love it.
Yeah.
But what I don't like is the politics.
Yeah.
So I realized very quickly that the commercial dance world wasn't really my area. But what I also liked was teaching.
Yeah.
And I love to like hand down that knowledge. So what I started to do at the time was just I was shadowing everyone. There was a period of time I was in like 5 dance groups and
Amazing.
rehearsing
Wonderful.
these places. Trust me, I was like
Yeah.
everywhere. And it was just like, so a lot of it was basically their gigs. So they would be doing things like there'll be like a tour here, there'll be a class that I could teach there and all that kind of stuff. So I did it really under their wings at first. And then I started to just step out by myself. And I think I always knew I was going to do that. It's just a matter of time. So I started to teach. I started to cover a lot of people at places like Pineapple and things like that, just to kind of get my name out a little bit.
Yeah.
At the time, I wasn't really wanting like my own slot. I quite liked the flexibility.
Yeah.
So there was that side of it. But I was still trying to work because you got to eat in it. So I was still doing like auditions and things like that. And then I remember, for anybody who, I don't know if this is a do or don't, right?
Okay.
In hindsight.
Okay.
But what I did was there was one particular agent where you have to apply online to be able to get them, right? So during the application process, there was a drop-down menu which had other agencies you might be part of.
Right.
I wrote down every name on that list, yeah. I created like effectively a template,
Right.
like email with my photos and all that kind of stuff, and I sent it to every one of those boys.
Brilliant. That's brilliant.
Like, it was literally like the most efficient way in my head of doing it, because I mean, I didn't know who all these agents were, and here was like a list, and in my head I was like, this is a big agency, they wouldn't put these agents on this list if they weren't legit.
Yeah.
So I did that, and there were different agencies I managed to get into, But then I realized again, you are your own business. And
Yes,
I know
100%.
you've had loads of people on your platform already talking about it. And
Keep saying it.
like
You can never say
it
it enough.
yo, like it is the what that I remember
Yeah.
speaking to someone and bearing in mind because obviously like I said I'm self-taught, right? So I remember speaking to someone who went through the whole system of schooling and I was baffed at how they didn't understand the basics of business, right?
Mm.
Um, and then I realized they don't teach you that necessarily as part of the course. What they teach you
Yeah.
is to dance as opposed to be a dancer.
Yeah.
And it was something that I found that seemed to be quite. I think now things have started to change quite a lot, but
Yeah.
in that
Definitely.
period of time, like I couldn't find anyone because I was literally like, "How do you eat?" Do you know what
Yeah.
I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, you
How do you
know,
live?
yeah, how do you live? Like,
Yeah.
I don't.
You're coming back.
Still see me? Yeah, there we go. I'm
There
back.
you go. You're back.
I didn't want to fall into that cycle, that kind of narrative of the struggling dancer, which would
Yeah.
effectively prove my family right. You know what
Yeah.
I'm saying?
Yeah. Yeah.
So I really had to buckle down and learn about that.
Yeah.
So yeah, as I started to do that, I started to really think about who I am as a person and how that is related to my expression as a dancer. And then
Yeah.
I realized then, and I use that to accept or reject opportunities.
Oh,
So I realized that there were certain things that just didn't work well with who I was.
yeah.
I had to immediately stop doing that. And when I stopped doing that, I realized that contrary to my initial thought, it actually opened up other doors.
Yeah.
Because I feel like there's two things. There's either people know who you are
Yeah.
and people know who you aren't.
Yeah.
And I feel like those two things ended up working in my favor. So I
Yeah.
stopped getting all the jobs I didn't want. And I
Yeah.
started getting calls from my peers who were doing really well,
Yeah.
who were doing the stuff I did want to do. And so that just started snowballing,
Yeah.
which was really good.
Yeah. So how did you like make that apparent to people? You're like
Um,
putting it out there. I am this. I'm not this. So maybe didn't necessarily have to do it like that, but just for people listening.
yeah, do you know what? I realize now, looking back, it wasn't like I put a marketing campaign out.
Yeah.
Like there was definitely no billboards, there was no website at this point, there was none of
Yeah.
that stuff.
Yeah.
I was just me, basically.
Yeah.
Like so for example, in a rehearsal, I remember I'll never forget this, yeah. There was one rehearsal and the guy who was running it came in and he was just furious, right,
Right.
at the crew. And he went individually talking
At
to
all the
people
dancers
what
in the crew. Yeah.
all the dancers in the crew
Yeah.
about what they were doing wrong, basically. And when he got to me, I looked him dead in the face, like ready.
Yeah. Come on then. Yeah.
And he was like, "Well, I appreciate you being here, bro." And then carried on. I was like, "Okay, cool." So
So you
I
didn't get anything. You didn't
no,
get any negative feedback. You just moved on.
and I think for me it was just like I think I was not from very early on. I'm not scared of people, so you can't.
Yeah. Yeah.
It'll be very difficult to intimidate me. And I realized the connection between that early experience in Czech Republic meant that I saw people at the highest echelon of what I'm doing, and I could speak to them on a level. I
Yeah.
noticed that everyone coughs, everyone gets ill, everyone
Yeah.
struggles, everyone's human, right? So there's no one really who could stand in front of me and speak to me in a way that would make me feel like I'm less than you. And this just happened to be an individual who thrived off that kind of thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
But by being me in situations like that and in other places, people realized what my boundaries were. I
Yeah.
didn't want to do stuff which wasn't really true to its form.
Yeah.
So like if you're doing a pop-in or lock-in or house or break-in routine, people basically stopped getting in touch with me if they couldn't prove they knew what they were talking about. Basically. And I don't know, I just stopped.
Yeah.
I was just myself. Yeah.
Yeah. I think that's great though. I think that's also a way of protecting yourself as well. because the
Mm,
industry can be like pretty cutthroat depending where you are in the industry and who you know. So I think that's a great
mm,
way of just kind of like going, this is what I'm about, and I'm fine with that. And I think
yeah.
that's a really positive message.
It's not easy though.
No, yeah,
Just let me just put that little caveat in
yeah,
there. It's
yeah,
not easy. Like I remember going back to Czech Republic when he went there. This was like the first time UK had been part of this competition on the competitive level. And so Birdgang were very conscious of our image, and we didn't want to give things away because the performances were towards the end of the week. They were like Saturday
yeah,
and Sunday. Monday to Friday were all the battles. So we weren't allowed to be a part of all of that so that we come out of the weekend with a huge bang.
yeah,
That did not work with me. so, so like for me, again, it was like I want to dance, so I dance. Like
yeah,
no owns me. And I know it sounds really very difficult to. I don't know what you would put a word on that, but I find it very important to me if I to be true to myself.
yeah,
Uh, and
yeah,
I say for everyone to find that because in the end, it became my superpower. So because I was true to myself and I spent time looking at what I like, dislike,
yeah,
and I set my boundaries, from that, I was able to build what is now become immersive, which is
yeah,
now able to, I do so many things from that company.
yeah,
Um, and I wouldn't change that for anything, like even for all the lost jobs and stuff like that.
yeah.
So,
But I think that's really important as well because then that's what makes you a standout artist. Do you know what I mean?
mm,
So it's not like I think there's a lot of copycat. There can be a lot of copycats, or not
mm,
necessarily copycats, but just kind of jumping on trends and stuff. But I think
yeah,
that just shows you longevity. I can't speak today. Longevity.
longevity. Yeah.
Longevity. Yeah.
And the thing is, I understand the copycat mentality. Think
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
ultimately, you until you find out who you are, you got to copy. And
Yeah.
so, but it's just that for me, I was just very conscious at the beginning that I needed to know who I was. Like that was a
Mhm.
priority for me.
Yeah.
Um, and if I didn't want to do it, I just didn't do it.
Yeah.
But it's very difficult when you're facing a situation where you're like, okay, this is a person who's effectively a gatekeeper.
Yeah.
If I don't do this, this could be the
Yeah.
repercussions. You know what I mean? So I'm not playing with the idea that it's easy, but it's just for me, it was very important for me to stand my ground on certain things,
Yeah.
um,
Yeah.
and it worked out.
Yeah. Amazing. Okay. Great. So, what would you say is the highlight of your dance career? If you could pick, I said you could pick a couple. So if you want to pick a couple,
Mm.
what is just like a moment where you're like, this is just amazing?
Okay, so one of my highlights of my dance career are
Oh,
right. Um, I guess okay, this is gonna sound really whatever. So Become Immersive started as a performance, right? The
yeah,
identity cultural displacement of the African diaspora. I expanded it. It became a company, and I took it to Sierra Leone, where I was born. Right.
amazing.
There
Yeah.
was a moment where I performed, and I wasn't intending to.
Okay.
Um, and so, if you imagine, the whole idea of this company is this feeling of being Sierra Leonean in UK, but
Mm,
feeling like you're British when you go to Sierra Leone,
right.
right?
Yeah.
That's the whole idea behind this entire shebang, right?
Yeah.
And then I go to Sierra Leone and I'm creating this platform, which is a festival in collaboration with Patriotic Advocacy Network and Youssef Jallo, who are a huge like beast in terms of what they do. And I perform, and then they applaud, right? And for me, like I've been on different stages, yeah. Obviously, there's different things you do, and like I mentioned, like the energy is ridiculous. But there was something different about my people.
Mm, okay.
You know what I mean? Like there was something very different about that. It wasn't even the greatest platform. Like it
Yeah.
was actually like like I've danced in front of like thousands before, so it wasn't like that kind of thing. But it was just
Yeah.
who they were was a huge moment for me.
Mm,
So in terms of meaning and stuff, that's one of them.
yeah. That's amazing.
Another
Yeah.
one, I'm going to give you a little curveball, right? Is one day when I was just about to fall asleep and my mom came in and she said, I'm proud of you.
Oh. Oh. Big moment.
listen, again, as a Sierra Leonean, that's a
Yeah.
huge deal. Like,
Yeah.
that's a huge deal. And the thing is, she's back to me since then or whatever all the time, but that particular moment was huge.
You knew it meant
Oh,
it was true.
yeah,
Yeah.
it was magical. Yeah, and then of course it's like the different like larger scale performances as well. That are like I guess in a way it's weird because those ones are great. Um, but I realized again, like the size didn't, as much as it sounds really as a weird thing, the size didn't matter, like in the sense of
Yeah.
like the audience.
Yeah.
You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? So I've always been more attracted to what the event means than how big an audience. So I remember I was doing one which was Robbie Williams Take the Crown tour. That's probably like hugest
Yeah.
thing, and that was incredible. You know what I mean? Like the feeling, incredible, incredible. Um, but then it was a turning moment in my life because I got on the same train back as the people who went to see the show,
Mm.
and I was like, "Raw boy, I've got to go and apply for another gig again tomorrow, and I've got
Yeah.
to, do all this stuff again." Like, despite just coming off of this huge high,
Yeah.
hit with this thought that, man, I've got to get on my grind again.
Again. Start again. Yeah.
Yeah, but I'd say those are probably my three biggest.
I think they're pretty good. I think they're
Yeah,
pretty
a bit
solid.
of a range. Yeah.
Yeah, nice range there. Amazing. So I actually forgot to put this question in the email, but I ask everyone this question. So,
Cool.
if someone could come to you at the start of your career or when you started dancing and give you one bit of advice or maybe a couple of little bits of advice, what would you like to have heard that would have helped you maybe venture forward? Sorry, I jumped this one on you.
No. That's cool. I like these impromptu ones. That's how I roll. I'm a freestyler. I'd say thinking back maybe is enjoy it, but decide what you want from it.
Yeah.
I would say, like looking back, maybe that would have been something because I think if I'd have like no way in a million years would I be thinking that at this point in 2021 I'd be founder of a company which is doing all the stuff it's doing. Like I don't think that would have even come into my head at that time, but I think it would have given me a lot more direction and purpose in the things that I was doing.
Yeah.
And to say that there was anything wrong with what I was doing, I think I probably would have made the same decisions, but I think having that thought at the back of my head as to what I want from it,
Yeah.
I think would have really changed, like maybe that little 1 degree.
Just giving you that clarity, isn't it? Kind of like
Yeah.
that's where I'm going. Yeah, which I think is
Yeah.
important to have. Amazing. So what do you think? So like emerging artists, like early dance grads now, so obviously a lot of dance graduates have had to graduate in this pandemic. When I've been speaking to people, it sounds so horrible. Like I feel so bad for everyone that's graduated in the pandemic. So congrats to anyone who has that's watching. What do you think their biggest challenge is? Maybe you can talk about the pandemic because it's obvious it's here, but maybe if there's anything kind of outside of the pandemic that you feel like maybe emerging dancers are struggling with, or that maybe there's a challenge for them.
Do you know what? I think the pandemic is unprecedented, right? So I mean, technically in the past there have been pandemics like this before, right? But not within really our
not
lifestyle times.
Yeah.
But I think it's really changed the game a lot in the sense that now it's brought to the forefront what some of us probably should have been doing anyway. So for example, it's really made it obvious that people need their own entity. So if you're going to be, yes, man like Will, if you're going to do this as a career, you kind of need to be able to be found.
Yeah.
And it's difficult to be found if you're part of other really big things. You kind of need your own, even if it's just like a www.
Yeah.
Something where where someone can find you.
Yeah.
I think that has been really important. That's come to the forefront. The second thing, which is kind of like related to that, is the idea of having access. So, for example, it's great for you to access to your talents, your skills.
Yeah.
Right? So how can people do that? So once they found you, how can they access those? So how do they know what you can provide?
Yeah.
And how can they actually get that from you? So, for example, if you got a website, it'll be a great opportunity to say that I do this, that, and the other. And this is coming from me, right? This is coming from me. So don't, it's not like everyone would say this, but if you look at my website, andrebright.co.uk, right?
Yeah.
It has like a list. It's got like a grid of my services, and it's not all dance. In fact, only one of them is dance. It's different things. And what you'll find is that to be able to, for me anyway, to be able to be comfortable and to be able to get income in various ways, I know people talk about it, but streams of income are so important.
Yeah.
And even within dance, there are different streams of income. So I guess the third part is educating yourself on those.
Yeah.
So for example, performing is a different skill set to teaching, which is different skill set to choreographing, which is different skill set to being an artist and creating like art forms, right?
Yeah.
And there's lots of different things. You don't even have to physically move. So right now in a pandemic, a lot of people aren't moving, but even related to that, you can still produce. You can still do all these other things within the dance umbrella. That you might actually be even more purposeful and gifted at than physically moving. So I feel like that's like a really important thing for people to consider during this kind of time. There's loads of stuff that we can do. Don't limit yourself to what you see the person to your right or left doing. For me, one of the things that really opened my mind is, obviously I've got architecture, right? So I already think slightly differently, but looking at designers, looking at marketers, looking at entrepreneurs, looking at, I don't know, social enterprises, and just being curious about how different people do different things has really changed the way I approach what I deliver.
Amazing. Definitely. Okay, so last question. Where do you see yourself moving forward within dance? Let's say, like, I don't like to give a time limit. I'm gonna give a time limit. Like next 5 to 10 years. Let's do like a big
5 to 10 years.
Yeah.
Well, let me tell you, since I have it on my wall.
Okay, amazing.
I think on my wall, basically, I'm currently working on residual income. So different ways to me to use the next, I guess, 5 years to build things that are going to pay me monthly afterwards. So my online presence is going to be a lot stronger in 5 to 10 years. My company is going to be a lot bigger. I don't think I physically will be performing as much. But one of the things I'm really passionate about is building platforms so that other people can do that. I'm more likely to be in that kind of space and physically building. So in 10 years, I want to do something in Sierra Leone. Basically, I want to build a performing arts center, which we don't have.
Amazing.
But that's kind of like one of my focuses at the back of my head. Outside of that, I don't really think I would necessarily be performing and teaching so much, but building platforms so that other people can. And then through that, creating my income so that I can be in the tropical weather 3 months of the year.
That sounds like a good plan. That's awesome. Amazing. So that's the end of our conversation. But if anyone has like any questions, please shoot them through. I think a few people have commented, so if you want to have a little look, I think it's a lot of support. But
I didn't even realize all these people were in there. Nice.
They got like 8 people on now. So amazing. So
Yeah, I was like
yeah,
that. No problem for me.
any projects you're working on now that you want to
Um,
share?
my main project at the moment is still Become Immersive. So
Yeah,
that's becomeimmersive.co.uk, and with that, it's just empowering specifically the Black community. So the whole ethos is changing the brand of Africa and its descendants from the inside out.
amazing.
So a lot of our projects have to do with mindset and empowering people and finding identity and things like that. And the whole idea with that is just to level out the playing field a little bit. So a lot of my projects are channeled towards that at the moment. But at the same time, I'm kind of trying to take the time to find a little bit more about Andre, because I think most of everything I've done over the last maybe 3 or 4 years have gone into that project.
Yeah,
I'm in the phase where I kind of want to find a little bit of Andre again.
yeah.
Um,
Oh, there you go. Good question.
so
How do
how do
people?
people and organizations get involved with Become Immersive? Yeah, Andre, the GOAT. Yeah, so you can get in touch with Become Immersive at, I mean, we're on everything at Become Immersive, at Become Immersive on Twitter and Instagram. And if you go to, and I'll write it in here, www. What? Chloe in the building, longest time.
I'll tag you when I post this. I'll tag the company, and if
Oh,
you
amazing.
want me to put anything in the post, just send it over, and I'll put
Okay,
it
perfect.
in the post.
So yeah, if you go to www.becomeimmersive.co.uk, that has pretty much everything we've got in there. So we've got a festival in Sierra Leone that happens every year, and that one is like we're aiming for that to grow and make it digital as the years go on.
Amazing.
Naomi is in Become Immersive as well. She's part of the team, so one go on with that. And yeah, if anybody wants to get involved in that, as in to become part of the team, we're always open for new people to grow that, because we just got a lot of ideas, a lot of projects to do. And yeah, we hopefully you'll be able to see much more of us. You know, we've got a podcast, we've got talks every Monday, we've got, like I said, the festival every year, and we're looking into different things that I can't talk about yet. But yeah, there's different things coming up.
Amazing. Okay, just quickly before I go, we will be doing our next masterclass soon, which I'm super excited about. Um, we'll announce that on Monday, so keep an eye out for that one. It's going to be a good one. And yeah, anyone wants to get in contact with me, any questions they have, just send me a message. And yeah, again, thank you so much. Oh, we've got another question. Will become will will become
Oh,
immersive people after why?
absolutely. So Sierra Leone is where I was born, right? So that's like our pilot at the moment. That's the place where I have the most connections. But really, the vision is to once we have it down, like in terms of the projects we do on the continent, a lot of it is there's basically two themes that we have. It's like out in five, which is that anything we start, we try and empower the local community to keep it going without us within 5 years.
Yeah, nice.
This pandemic has messed that up a little piece, so it's more like six this time around. But and the other one is teach to teach. So the idea is to be able to do that, we basically build up teachers. So all our projects, it's really just testing things out. How can we get it to a place where people who we're impacting are the ones who are taking it on in the future? So once we get that that formula down, then we want to move that to different countries. So I mean, I'm already like trying to find different connections in different places. I've been to various countries on the continent and made sure that every time I go there, I'm trying to find out who are the decision makers, who are the gatekeepers in each of these countries, so that we can keep connections, but also in Europe. So one of the things I'd really like to do is build exchanges between the two. And I know they exist in different places, but I don't think there's ever enough or too much of any of that.
Question there.
And then, do you allow outside organizations to support what you do in Africa? Yeah, absolutely. So, for example, Caramel Soldier started off as specific. Yeah, she's dope, right? So he specifically started off by doing heart in Sierra Leone. So she came as part of our product So if there is anyone who has something that you want to get involved in, then yeah, just let us know and we'll see how we can work it. The only thing I'd say is that everything we're doing now specifically is really devoted to teach or out in 5. So it's not something where you just come and do something for a day and then bounce. Do you know what I mean? It needs to be something with a strategy where if it's something you believe in that the country would need, is coming up with a strategy where, okay, cool. So year 1, we do this. Year 2, we do this. Year 3, we do this. 4 and 5. And one of the things that I've learned as well, which is really the root of the whole changing African descendants from the inside out, the brand, is the idea that often we in the West go to places like different parts of Africa with this mentality that we can fix everything as well, or it will just be like a holiday, we can give back a little bit. It is not like that. Africa is too developed for that. So one of the things that's really important to me is that when we do bring things over, it's the highest quality as well. So that first time we went, it was Caramel Soldier and Miriam Gadri, who's part of Alvin Ailey and all this kind of stuff. So when we did that, it was like teaching them, like, you know, basic things, even things like, well, even before we get to that, I realized on day 1 that they didn't need me at all. You can ask Caramel and Miriam about that, because I got there and I was like, man, they are incredible. When it comes to technique, they don't need anything. The only thing I realized they did need is just someone to kind of guide how to turn all this into a product, or how to put this in a package that can sell in various different ways or whatever. That was literally all they needed. And a lot of the times it was literally just a tweak. So yeah, anyone is open to get involved, but it's just bearing in mind there will be like a process to it. And until we get to the stage where we're balling, you have to be putting your money where your mouth is, right? So if you come in, then you're buying your ticket. Once you land, we'll take care of you. But yeah, so yeah, so it's not just like a free ride.
Yeah, amazing. It's super great to catch up with you, because I think probably the last time was when we did like finesse. Whenever that was.
I know.
All those years ago at Move It.
Good times though. That was a dope.
Yeah, that was a good one. I like that.
Matching the stage and that.
Yeah. That was a good process. I enjoyed that one. But yeah, thank you so much again, Andre. And I'm going to tag all your things in here, and awesome chat. Hopefully everyone really benefited from it. I think they definitely will.
Amazing. Thanks so much
for having me. Bye.
Thanks for joining us. Bye.